Welcome to GOLT Talk, your podcast for technology and innovation in the legal profession. If you're searching for solutions to revolutionize your legal practice, you're in the right place. 10 minutes pure, actionable product insights from CEOs shaping the future of legal technology. And here is your host, Tom Pfennig.
Welcome to GOLT Talk, your podcast for innovation and technology in the legal and compliance space. 10 minutes, pure actionable insights from CEOs shaping the future of legal tech. My name is Tom, and today I warmly welcome Sabih Siddiqi, the CEO of Iqidis, based in New York City, and soon to be the CEO of a company called Iqidis. And we are going to dive into this in our 10+ minute high density podcast. Welcome to the show, Sabih.
Thank you so much, Tom. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got to fund Iqidis, the roadmap ahead, and then we dive into unique selling points and use cases of your software solution.
Of course. So, Tom, the interesting part is I spent close to 8 years at a large law firm here in New York City. And you can't see my background, but my old office is literally right over there. During that time, I was both in predominantly litigation, but I also did a lot of transactional work as well. And very interestingly enough, was also the outside GC of a bank for about 1 year. During that time, and that was around 2023, obviously, ChatGPT had just come out and, we were seeing the use cases, things of that nature. I remember going into the bank and we had a $1 million plus bill from a large white shoe firm with really not much to show for it at that time, right? And obviously, I can appreciate how these things might take longer. We need a whole compliance revamp, policies, things of that nature. We were up against the clock. And I was not sure that, we were going to be able to meet the regulators' timing. So we basically had implemented ChatGPT Enterprise, the nascent version of that, at the bank. And we got everything that we needed done within record time. I'd sort of let the firm know and things of that nature. And one thing led to another, where when I went back to the law firm, I became part of our innovation committee, right? And during that time, I was able to really talk to, pilot, test everything under the sun, as far as new legacy tools, and obviously all the new AI tools that have been coming out as well. And not to name any sort of competitors, but we really did a deep dive on everything. My problem was that ChatGPT Enterprise on my phone was just doing a better job than anything else, right? So why pay thousands of dollars for all these tools when, we already have this out there? Took a step back and tried to understand, what is it that everyone's doing that's resulting in really the same results? And around that same time in May of 2024, April rather, of 2024, I had met my co-founder, Devansh. And he's a phenomenal AI researcher and application guy, right? So we really, again, and not naming names, but we very quickly found out that all the new AI tools that have been coming out, predominantly APIing into ChatGPT and not doing much different, and what everyone calls wrappers these days, right? And that's still the case. So what we did is we took a step back and spent about a year developing, right? And we made some very hard decisions right in the beginning, where we decided, hey, we are going to own our tech stack entirely, right? Not to compete with ChatGPT, because that is they have infinitely more resources than really anyone else. You also have things like Gemini and other companies, Perplexity, that are doing phenomenal on the AI end, generally speaking. So what we did is we understood how lawyers work, and then we built a tech stack revolving around that. That tech stack, and I'm sure we'll get into in just a little bit, but that's resulted in, for our attorneys, what matters the most is obviously much better work product, right? So literally from your first minutes on the platform, you're able to get work product that is just much better than anything else that's out there. That's because of the way that we've set up the orchestration in our architecture, right? And then going up from there, what we've done is we've built what we consider to be a entirely new category. And that category is a legal operating system category. By connecting the dots on all the fragmented tools and things that really I spent painstaking amounts of time on in my day, and solving for those and providing our attorneys with those solutions. And, we launched our paid product back in early March. Since then, we're at 200 plus law firms and in-house teams. A few thousand attorneys use us on a daily, weekly basis. And that's just growing up and up.
Let's make sure that the audience understands also whether they are within your ideal client profile or not. You say you're serving lawyers, but the composition sounds like both ends, in-house and law firms. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Right. So again, because I spent some time, a good amount of time, obviously on the law firm end and then in-house as well, it really became apparent to me, yes, the teams are doing different work for different stakeholders, things of that nature, but the way in which you're doing was always the same, right? So building systems around the way in which you do the work is what we've done within Iqidis.
And let's talk a little bit about the use cases, because they are very different, whether you're in-house or whether you're lawyer. You talked about a work product. That's normally not always the term that you use in an in-house environment. What kind of services does Iqidis solve or serve with its technology?
Of course. I mean, we can go so broad as, again, from the litigation POV and then just going directly into in-house, right? So assisting lawyers with, let's say, doing the drafts of pleadings, things of that nature, organizing their whole case file around their matter, right? And then going into the in-house section, you could be working on a large regulatory report or some sort of approval internally, right? Well, you're probably going to be using the same tools, but you can configure your platform, your Iqidis, soon to be called Iris, into what exactly it is that you are doing and how you do that.
So give me a kind of a user journey, please, for especially in-house user of the Iqidis solution. Pick one use case and walk us through the sequence of events.
For sure. And not to name any names, but we have a few very large in-house teams on board right now that have expanded their licenses and are doing so on really a routine basis. So for example, I can walk you through in my mind the one journey that I have right now already. We have a fintech company that's on board, right? They have about, I think, 27 attorneys plus legal staff. One of the user journeys that we did is they do a lot of regulatory, research, reports, and then obviously updates to various governmental institutions, whether it's in the US or even abroad, right? So for them, it's a matter of being able to first research, okay, which we provide them with a lot of different tools. We have the research and deep research modes within the platform. Those modes go beyond just, for example, the regular ChatGPT research. They're tapping into our database plus other resources, leaving all of that, the tech side for a second. They'll want to do their research first. And then what they need to do is prepare reports around that research. But they prepare their reports in very specific ways, right? So they have templates, they have previous drafts, things of that nature. So our system is able to adhere very closely to their drafts, plus obviously update those regulatory reports, right? And then the cool part is that they need to share all of this internally as well, right? So this specific team has access to some of our collaboration features that are also coming out soon, right? But what they're doing is they're able to actually, the whole life cycle of this regulatory report, which may be touched by really 7 to 8 people, right? Those 8 stakeholders are all able to touch that report within our platform collaboratively and get it to file. Now, this used to take a tremendous amount of time in the past. For them, this took anywhere from 8 to 11 working days, right? So 2 to 3 weeks almost. Okay. Now it's taking them anywhere from 3 to 4 days. Okay. So within a few days, they're able to really they've completely, efficientized, if we're making up a word here, the way that they do this sort of work. So that's one aspect of all of this and one specific use case.
You said earlier that you would not compete with ChatGPT and you've built your proprietary tool. So obviously there's a lot of competition in this space. What is the uniqueness of the Iqidis work product, as you just said? So there must be some superiority that I can see, measure, present.
What OpenAI, Google, and a number of other companies are doing, they're creating phenomenally and heavy LLMs and other use cases around their LLMs, right? So the idea is never to really compete with them. It's to actually leverage those LLMs in the best way that we can. The way that we do our architecture is what allows or provides much better work product. For example, right in the beginning, we have, when you upload a document along with your query, right? We have a dual OCR approach. So we have 2 OCRs because, attorneys might be uploading chicken scratch documents or financial documents with notes and things of that nature. Well, our dual OCR approach, what that does is one triggers right in the beginning where you can upload anything that'll always be working. And then we have another, basically a system in which we're able to tell, okay, this needs a little bit more of an enhanced review, right? So that happens right in the beginning. Then we go into the information extraction portion of all of this. We have a dual RAG approach. What that does is there's these things called chunking and overlapping, all this sort of other stuff. Well, RAG notoriously, specifically in in the attorney world, it might miss something on maybe page 20 in the last paragraph or one of the lines, right? That is really relevant to what the attorney is looking for. But we can't have any of that. But at the same time, we don't want to overload a system with context either, because there's a lot of superfluous context. So what we've been able to do, and through Devansh and our research team, we're able to do thousands and thousands of benchmarks on a daily basis, right? And in fact, the benchmarking is happening right now as well, all internal benchmarking. And through that, we're able to gather a lot of data points. And what we've done is we've created a system in which our RAGs fire off independently and collaboratively on your documents, right? Within split seconds, all this, what that does is we're able to extract a lot of key information. In fact, mostly all the information that you would want, right? But then the secret sauce that no one's been able to crack because everyone's just building on top of ChatGPT, if I'm going to call it out directly, we actually have our own knowledge graph on every single conversation. So just think of it as like a ChatGPT conversation or a chat. In the back, and the clients don't need to see any of this, you have a knowledge graph. What that knowledge graph is, let's say you uploaded a litigation pleading, right? Or a transactional doc, stick with transactional. You have parties, you have terms. Through our knowledge, through the RAG plus the knowledge graph, we will literally have charted out all of those things, right? And that dynamically updates as you interact with the system more and more. What that does is though, we now have all of this context available to us, right? Almost like training an AI without training an AI, right? That's also around the security issues and all that sort of other stuff. But you have this context instance in one conversation, and we're then able to pass that through a few other layers. And the final layer in all of this is the NLP, the natural language processing. So we won't even send all of your context for natural language processing, maybe just a small portion of it, because we have done so much of that work in advance. Now we still have access to the best models, right? So let's say GPT-6 comes out tomorrow, right? I'm sure the IQ on that is going to be better. You're going to want that. But what people are saying, what other companies are saying is that, oh, we are model agnostic, right? In the sense that we can use GPT, we can use Claude, we can use Gemini. Model agnostic to us, what that really means in an ideal world is where you can use a combination of LLMs for different tasks within the same query. And that's what we can do. We can use a combination of different LLMs for the same exact task in the same instance. What all this leads to is more security and much better answers.
Awesome. Let me just move on then to competitors, because I think you're probably going after the known names in this space, but you must have data and user experience and testimonial to show the superiority of your tool. Can you tell us a little bit, who are those competitors? And maybe I'm not thinking about the same names you are thinking. So it would be great to have some insights there. And B, you must have been very successful to really penetrate the market with your tool, where there is a lot of these big brands already there, but you still find your space. So that would be interesting how that's happening, actually.
Absolutely. So let me layer that answer, because I think you hit on something extremely important before we even got to this question. It's, yes, I'm a lawyer. And what we have found that a lot of these companies are lacking is real legal DNA as far as the top is concerned, right? Now, you can try and hire, and I'll be a little blunt and direct with this one. You can hire gray-haired folks, right, that have had phenomenal experience as attorneys. The problem is always going to be is that there's always going to be a disconnect between the tech and where the tech is going, because this tech it's nowhere close to being fully developed just yet, right? But you have to really understand what has happened, what you can do right now, and where all this is going. That's where Devansh and I, my co-founder, overlap, right? We're not in two separate worlds. We're overlapping in very tight ways, in which he's able to really understand deeply what I'm talking about as far as the legal practice is concerned, and I understand what he's talking about. So the real legal DNA with really deep industry tech understanding is what's really important. I do invoke everyone who's listening to this to look into my co-founder, Devansh. He's number 65 on Substack as far as tech and AI is concerned, right? With hundreds of thousands of followers. But what's important here as far as the competitors are concerned, right? Let me tell you the way that I wake up in the morning. I think that's even more important. I don't wake up thinking about what our competitors are doing. I wake up thinking about how can we help our customers, right? What can we do better today? What that leads to then is really a world in which we're connecting the dots in ways that no one else is, right? Because we're keenly listening. We have a phenomenal sales team and other people. I take a listen and I look at all the transcripts if I'm not in those conversations. I jump into conversations, even if it's with a small law firm, for 5-10 minutes, right? Just to really understand their pain points. And we do that translation process, not at the end of the week, not like once a month. We do it literally every single day. right? So that's the difference of what we're doing, right? And that's how, and then this is just the beginning. We have right now a pretty good lead on our competitors. That's going to be even bigger over the next few months, right? We've already had in the 10s, possibly even the 20s, of clients come over from these competitors, right? Clients that are waiting for their contracts to expire because they feel that they've been bamboozled by these companies that promised a lot, but have completely underdelivered, right? To name those competitors, okay, and this is not an all-inclusive list, and it's not supposed to be a tantalizing list, it's just the way that things have shaken out. Harvey, Leia, now called Legora, right? We're even releasing a tool around word add-ins and online drafting, so Spellbook, okay? GCAI, things like Hebia even. But what's really cool is that it's not me saying this, it's our clients. You're doing some things like Clio is too, but just better, right? So it's going after the legacy companies as well. And the reason why that's happening is because there are so many old systems that are built in old ways, whereas what we've built is basically, we're kind of using like Jenga blocks, right? We're building a skyscraper like our competitors, like ChatGPT is too. But what we've done is, we know that the future is not linear. The future can go a bunch of different ways. So you have to be prepared for that. So the way that we've architected this, we can take things in and out as we so please. On tomorrow, like literally right now, automatically even that can happen without the customer clients even knowing. So what that leads to is better infra, better work product, but the ability for us to innovate really on a dime's notice, right? So that's the real difference at the end of the day.
Awesome. Very appreciate the openness and very interested in diving into this conversion topic. Why do clients come over? Can you give me a killer use case where there is this sense of underachievement, lack of meeting expectations, where you come in and you meet those expectations? Can you give me one killer example for the audience?
I can give you an absolutely killer example. We had a very large law firm that we did a multi 2-hour deep dive. So I think we spent about 2 different sessions with them, a couple hours each time, talking about their use of a certain product right now, a competitor's product, and why the usage has been so low, right? And the thing is, the competitors will have these conversations with the buyers or the chief innovation committee and their staff and things of that nature. We're able to have deep conversations with attorneys directly, right? It's not, for us, it is not about the sale, it is about the use, right? So that's sort of the approach that we take. It's more of a conversation. It's never a sales pitch for us. So what we did is we understood, oh, okay, this specific law firm, and there was a litigation part, there was some transactional work happening. On the transaction side, they were doing this M&A and they had to do a review, and the specific competitor was offering, the ability to review at scale these documents and things of that nature. But I took a look at the answers, and you can tell if you practice for a certain number of years, you can tell whether work product is good or not. Or right off the bat, I could tell it's not. As opposed to even using any one of our fancier, like the multi-doc analysis or some other tool. Let's just go straight to our AI assistant, right? Throw it all in, ask the same exact question, tell the system to put the answer out in a chart, and they got a much better answer in front of them.
Yes.
And then we were able to build out tangentially there needed to be a purchase agreement. So we built out the purchase agreement. We did a license agreement right all together, right? And that value proof happened instantly. Okay. So within about 20 minutes, we had proved that our system is better. So
incredible. Thanks for sharing. Now, moving on to implementation and cost. It depends certainly on the complexity and size and use case of the user, the clients, but can you give us some guesstimates how long it takes to get Iqidis up and running? And can you share some insights in terms of your pricing model, please?
So we're going for full transparency. It could take you, without integrations, it will take you a minute, 2 minutes to set it up. As far as pricing is concerned, right now, today, it is for the core user without the collaboration features and things of that nature. It's a simple $249 per month. And then for the enterprise, get into the $399 per month per user territory, right? And we can move a bunch of different ways with that. We do annual contracts for the most part. We say annual because, like, for large enterprises, it takes some time for all people to be involved, right? But the way that we do it is, and which is, I'm giving away a lot, but that's perfectly fine. We're not people to, bring on your whole 1,000-person team, okay? It's a matter of starting somewhere, starting small, and then expanding, because that's what really drives expansion and growth. And we went, like, for example, with this one in-house team, went from a few lawyers to now 27, right? In another case, we went from like 2 people had signed up, then they brought on 7, then they brought on 9, then now I think they're at like 20 something as well. So
Excellent.
that's the way that we're going.
Gradual growth and not full throttle acceleration.
Yeah, because it's a matter of really, because once we have the data points collectively, right, and the data points are on both sides. Once their team understands and we understand too, then we come together and we do a larger, sort of training session as well. We'll do it one in the beginning, but then we say, let's come back in about, 30 to 45 days. And by that time, we will have understood how they work. They will understand how we work as well. And that's, it's a home run thereafter. So
Yeah. GOLT AI is a global platform. Are you primarily focusing on US clients, or are you venturing into all over the place?
we've been expanding heavily without telling anyone in places like Australia. We have 10s and 20s of Indian firms as well in the UK, South Africa. So yeah, we're certainly global, right? And we didn't touch on this just yet, but the expansion for us is happening now in real time. And we're expanding not just our reach, but really our team and the ability for our team to be able to go global as well.
Fantastic. A very refreshing podcast, very insightful. As you said, very open, very transparent, a little bit provocative, but that's exactly what we want to hear and see, and the authenticity of the owner, founder, and CEO of the solution. So with that, I thank you, Sabih Siddiqi, founder and CEO of Iqidis, soon to be named Iris, based in New York City, for 25 minutes of solid questions and answers. Thank you so much. Wishing you all the best. Take care. Bye-bye.
An absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.